The ultimate weapon of cruelty. A highly effective delivery system of a slow and painful death. This time, a fortress and its few defenders would suffer its horrible consequences. Out of the poisonous cloud came an army of men who should already have been dead.
Imagine hundreds of soldiers poisoned by gas, coughing blood, yet still advancing against the enemy. In today's video, we will be examining this tragical historical event. German troops unleashed a chemical cloud of poison gas over a Russian fortress. The defenders should have been dead, but instead, men with burnt faces, coughing blood, and staggering like corpses rose from the smoke and charged. They were looking so terrifying, the German troops started to flee in panic. This was the attack of the dead men. Let's have a look at it. Our story begins in summer of 1915 during the First World War. The German army had been fighting to break through the Russian defenses on the Eastern Front. One of their main targets was a massive stronghold named Osowiec Fortress. Built in late 19th centuries by the Russian Empire, Osowiec was surrounded by marshes and rivers, which is making it difficult to assault. But the Germans needed to capture it. Controlling the Osowiec would open the way deeper into the Russian territories. By July 1915, German forces had already surrounded the fortress. They brought with them heavy artillery, siege equipments, and a new terrifying weapon, the poison gas. On the morning of the August 6th, the Germans launched their deadliest assault. They released a thick green-yellow cloud of chlorine and bromine gas. It rolled across the swamps, carried by the wind, and swallowed the fortress. The defenders, about 900 Russian soldiers, had almost no protection. Gas masks were still primitive. Many wrapped their faces with rugs or shirts soaked into water, but it wasn't enough. The poison burned through their eyes, skin and lungs. Men began suffocating, coughing violently, spitting out of pieces of their own life. The blood was coming through their mouths and noses. The fortress seemed doomed. To the Germans, it looked like victory was certain. They had already killed the defenders without firing a single shot. Confidently, they moved forward in the formation to storm the gate. Inside the fortress, something unthinkable happened. The surviving Russians refused to surrender, still able to stand, armed themselves with rifles and bayonets. What rose from the gas cloud didn't look like soldiers. Their skin was burnt and blistered, their faces wrapped in bloody bandages. To the Germans, it was like watching the dead rise from their graves. And then the Russians charged. With screams, bayonets, and sheer determination, these half-dead men threw themselves against the advancing German line. The Germans, who expected no resistance, suddenly faced what looked like an army of corpses charging straight at them. Panic spread through the German army. Soldiers broke formation and they started to flee. Artilleries and machine guns were abandoned already. German units that had advanced confidently now turned into chaos. Russians pushed forward and forced the German back. Despite outnumbering the defenders many times over, the Germans' attack was collapsed. Against all the odds, the fortress remained in the Russian hands. So, in the end, the Russian army had to abandon a Soviet fortress weeks later by themselves. Even in the most brutal war humanity had ever seen, when death itself seemed certain, the willpower of a few men turned the tide of the battle. Because sometimes the most terrifying thing on the battlefield is not poison, gas, or artillery shell, but the sight of soldiers who refuse to die. It became known as the Attack of the Dead Man, a symbol of courage in the face of the impossible odds. If you want to experience this story in even greater details, there is actually a short 25 minutes movie about the Attack of the Dead Man. Nearly all of the footage has been taken from there. I highly recommend you to watch it. And if you are also interested into the music, the Swedish metal band Sabaton also immortalized this battle in their song Attack of the Dead Man, which I played at the first minutes of the video as well. I'll be leaving both of the links in the description so you can find it easily. If you have enjoyed the video so far, a like or comment would help me more than you know. And also please don't forget to give me a subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you in another video.